The first time Yalin saw her, the playground was too quiet for a place that was meant for laughter. The swings moved a little in the evening wind, creaking like tired bones. The sun sat low behind the trees, turning the sky orange and gold. Most kids had already been picked up. Only a few were left, scattered like forgotten toys. Yalin was one of them. His mother worked late at the clinic, and he waited every day until her car came. He usually stayed near the slide where the grown-ups could see him. He usually stayed away from the new girl, because everyone else did. She stood near the edge of the mulch, just past the swing set, small, still, and oddly bright in the soft light. Her skin was a gentle dusty rose color, smooth like a painted doll. Her platinum hair was cut in a neat little line around her chin, and from the top of her head rose two long antennae, pale pink, curling upward like delicate branches. Her eyes were huge, dark brown, and too old for a child's face. Not angry, not scared, just tired. She wore a pale beige jumpsuit that covered her from neck to ankle. A silver zipper ran down the front. Her hands were small, held close to her chest like she was trying to keep herself from shaking apart. She did not speak, not a single word, ever. They said she could not. They said her mouth was wrong. Her throat was wrong. Her lungs were wrong. They said aliens did not make sounds like humans. They said she was broken. They said she was creepy. They said a lot of things when grown-ups were not listening. That afternoon, a boy named Trent threw a pebble near her boots. It landed with a soft tap. Trent laughed and called her mute. Two girls giggled and copied the way she stood, stiff and careful. Someone else said she looked like a baby monster wearing pajamas. The laughter rolled across the playground like a wave, and the alien girl did not move. Yalin watched from the slide. His fingers gripped the warm plastic edge. His stomach felt tight, the way it did before a storm. He wanted to look away. He wanted to pretend it was not happening, but her eyes lifted, just for a moment. Not to the bullies, to him. That look hit him harder than any shout, because it was not a look that begged. It was a look that expected nothing, like she had already learned the world would not help her. Trent stepped closer. He raised his hand like he might flick one of her antennae. The other kids leaned in, excited, hungry for more. Yalin felt his heart thump once, then again. He thought about his mother telling him, "Be kind when it costs. Use something, because that is when it matters most." Trent's fingers were inches away. Yalin jumped off the slide and walked forward. Not fast, not slow, just straight. His shoes sank into the mulch with each step. The bullies turned, surprised. Trent smirked. "Oh look," he said. "The little hero is coming." Yalin did not answer. He walked until he stood beside the alien girl, close enough to feel the strange calm that seemed to wrap around her like a blanket. Then he did the simplest thing in the world. He reached out his hand, and he held hers. Her fingers were cool at first. Then they warmed against his skin. Her grip was careful, like she was afraid she might hurt him just by touching. Yalin squeezed gently. He looked at Trent and said, "Stop." It was a small word, but it landed like a stone. Trent blinked. He laughed, but it sounded weaker now. "Why?" he said. "She your girlfriend or something?" The other kids snickered. Yalin felt his face burn, but he kept his hand in hers. He did not let go, he said. "Leave her alone." Trent rolled his eyes and backed away, pretending he did not care. The others followed him, still laughing, still whispering. But the moment had changed. The air had changed, because someone had stepped between cruelty and silence, and that made the cruelty look smaller. Yalin turned to the alien girl. He did not know her name. He did not even know if she had a name that a human mouth could say. He smiled anyway, a simple smile, the kind his mother gave patients when they were scared. The alien girl stared at him. Her lashes trembled. Her antennae tilted slightly forward, and then something strange happened. Yalin felt a touch inside his mind, light as a feather, a whisper without sound, a warmth that was not his own. "Thank you." The words were not heard. They were felt. Yalin froze. His eyes widened. He almost yanked his hand away. Not because he was afraid of her, but because he was afraid of what it meant. Because if she could speak like that, inside him, then she had been listening to every cruel word, every laugh, every insult, and she had been carrying it alone. Yalan swallowed. He tried to speak softly, so the world would not break. "Can you hear me?" he asked. The question hung in the air. The playground noises faded. Even the swing creak seemed to stop. Her gaze stayed locked on his. Then the warmth returned. Gently this time. "Yes, I hear you." Yalan's throat went dry. "You can talk," he whispered. Her eyes lowered. She shook her head slowly, not like a child denying, like someone mourning, not with mouth, not here, not safe. Yalan did not understand, but he understood enough. He squeezed her hand again. He pointed toward the bench where the grown-ups waited. He pointed at himself, then at her. Then he raised his eyebrows, asking without words, "Can you come with me?" For a moment she hesitated. The other kids were still watching from a distance, pretending not to. The teacher aide near the gate was busy with her phone. The sun dipped lower. Shadow lines stretched across the ground like long fingers. Then the alien girl nodded, and she walked with him, hand in hand, across the playground that had treated her like a mistake that night. Yalan told his mother something important. But not everything. He said the new girl was being bullied. He said she did not speak. He said she looked sad. His mother's face tightened with anger and worry. She promised she would talk to the school. Yalan did not mention the voice in his head, because he did not have words for it, because he feared adults would turn wonder into fear, and fear into cages. The next day, Yalan sat beside the alien girl at lunch. The cafeteria smelled like spilled milk and warm bread. Kids stared, some pointed, some whispered. But Yalan stayed. He opened his sandwich and cut it in half. He offered her the bigger piece. She took it slowly, like she had forgotten kindness could be real. Her name, he learned, was Sira, not a sound name, a mind name, a feeling like cool water and a soft blue light. Sira did not play much. She watched, she studied faces, hands, movements, like she was learning what it meant to be small and human. Yalan learned that Sarah's family had come from far away, a ship that landed in secret, a deal made between governments, a promise of peace in exchange. Sarah's people were not conquerors. They were refugees. Their world had burned, not from fire, from a sickness that ate sound itself. A strange plague of silence. It started with voices, then machines, then alarms, then warnings. Their cities fell because nobody could shout, nobody could coordinate, nobody could call for help. Sarah's people survived by learning to speak mind to mind. But it was not easy. It did not work on everyone. Some humans were like closed doors, some were like cracked windows. Yalan, somehow, was an open room. "Why me?" Yalan asked one afternoon as they stood by the swing set. Sarah's answer came with a soft pressure behind his eyes, like a gentle hand. "Because you are quiet inside. Because you listen. Because you do not scream in your thoughts." Yalan did not know how to feel about that. He was a child. He wanted to be loud sometimes. He wanted to yell and run and laugh. But he also understood what she meant. When he looked at the other kids, he could almost feel their minds like buzzing flies, always judging, always grabbing, always hungry. Sira did not trust that kind of noise. Weeks passed. The mocking did not stop. It changed shape. Now the kids said Yalan was weird too. Now they called him alien lover. Now they avoided him like kindness was contagious. But something else changed. Too, some kids stopped laughing as much. Some looked uncertain. Because every time someone tried to corner Sira, Yalan stepped in, not with fists, not with shouting, with presence, with his hand, with the simple refusal to let her be alone. Then came the day the sky turned wrong. It was near the end of autumn. The air was crisp, the trees behind the playground thick and dark. Yalan and Sira were outside for recess. Sarah stood near the play structure, watching a group of kids climb. Yalan sat on the edge of the mulch, drawing shapes with his stick. He felt the familiar calm when she was near. Then Sira's antennae snapped upright. Her whole body went still. The calm shattered. Fear rushed into Jalen's mind like cold water. Run! The word hit him like a shove. Yalen jumped to his feet. He looked around, confused. Nothing seemed different. Kids were still playing. A teacher was still talking near the gate. The sun was still bright behind the trees. Sierra grabbed his hand tighter than ever before. Her eyes were wide, in his mind. Her voice trembled. They found us. A deep vibration rolled through the ground. So low it was felt more than heard. The swings rattled. The slide trembled. Some kids laughed, thinking it was an earthquake game. Then the air above the trees shimmered. A shadow moved. Across the playground, not a cloud, something sharper. Something that blocked the sun like a lid closing over the world. The teachers looked up. A screen started. Then cut off as people realized they did not know what they were seeing. A craft, sleek and dark, hovered behind the tree line. It was not human. It was not friendly. Sierra pulled Yalen toward the play structure. Toward the hollow space beneath the slide. Jalen's legs felt weak. He heard adults shouting now, heard kids crying, heard someone calling for everyone to get inside. The hovering craft angled. A beam of pale light swept the ground. Searching. Kids scattered like ants. Yalen crawled under the slide with Sierra. The space was tight and dusty. Sierra pressed close, her body shaking. The beam passed over the mulch, pausing. Yalen held his breath. His heart pounded so hard, it felt like it would give them away. In his mind, Sarah's voice was broken. They take the young. They take the quiet ones. They take the ones who can link minds. Who, Yalen thought, terrified. Who are they, hunters? They destroy refugee ships. They sell survivors. They want our minds as tools. The beam returned, brighter. It stopped right at the edge of the slide. Yalen felt heat on his cheek. He clamped his mouth shut. Sierra pressed her forehead against his shoulder. And then something unexpected happened. Sierra pushed her thoughts outward, hard. Yalen felt it like a wave. A shield, a bending of attention. The beam drifted away, as if the craft suddenly forgot what it was looking for. It moved on, scanning the swings, the benches, the trees. Yalen stared at Sierra. "How did you do that?" he whispered. Her answer was faint, strained. "It costs. I am small outside." The panic grew. Parents were running from the parking lot. Teachers were herding kids toward the building. Someone fell near the gate. A beam flashed. A child vanished in a blink of light. A teacher screamed and tried to chase. But what could a human do against a sky predator? Jalen's blood turned to ice. He tried to crawl out. "We have to help," he said. Sierra grabbed him with sudden strength. "No," the words slammed through him, louder than any sound. Her eyes filled with tears that did not fall. "If you go, you die. If I go, they take me. If find my family. If they find my family, everyone dies." Yalen shook, trapped between fear and fury. He was only a little boy, but he could not accept watching people disappear. He clenched his fists. He remembered his mother's stories about brave people. Not soldiers with weapons, but ordinary people who stood up when it mattered. Yalen looked at Sierra and thought, "Then teach me how you did that." Sierra stared back, stunned. "You are human," she said inside him. "Humans cannot," Yalen swallowed. He reached up and gently touched one of her antennae. It trembled under his fingers. He thought of the first day he held her hand, how small that act had been. How big it had felt, he thought. "I am not leaving you, and I am not letting them take anyone else." Sarah's breath hitched. Her eyes tightened like she was fighting a storm. Then she placed her small hand on Jalen's chest, right over his pounding heart, and she opened her mind wider than ever before. Pain flashed through Jalen's head, sharp and bright, not cruel. Just too much, too fast. He saw images. A dying world of silent cities. A ship drifting through dark space. Hunters with cold eyes and empty mouths. Children taken, minds chained, Sierra hiding, Sierra losing everything. Then he felt something deeper, a pattern, a way to push thought like a force, a way to bend attention, a way to make a mind look away. Yalen gasped. He nearly cried out, but he held on. He held on because Sira held on, because she trusted him with a secret. Her people would die to protect. The beam returned. It swept toward the slide again. Slower this time, more certain. Maybe the hunters had noticed something. Maybe their machines had caught a trace of Sira's shielding. The light brightened. It stopped. It began to dig. Like fingers searching beneath the plastic, Sira's face turned pale. She was fading. Yalan felt her exhaustion like a heavy blanket. Yalan took her hand. He squeezed, and he did what she had shown him. He pushed his thoughts outward, not as a whisper, as a command, as a wall. Look away. The force of it surprised him. He felt it surge through his skull and out into the air. The beam flickered. The craft hesitated. The searching light drifted sideways. As if confused, as if suddenly bored, it moved toward the trees instead. Yalan stared in disbelief. Sarah stared too, her eyes wide with something new, hope. Again, the ground vibrated. A second craft appeared beyond the tree line, smaller, silver. Fast, human helicopters followed. Tiny against the sky, sirens wailed from the road. Adults shouted orders into radios. The world was waking up, but the hunters were still there. They fired another beam, snatching a woman near the gate. The helicopters tried to angle closer. A burst of light hit the air, and one helicopter veered away smoking. People screamed. Children cried. Yalan's hands shook. He looked at Sira. We cannot hide, he thought. We have to stop them. Sira's mind pressed against his, intense. We are small, she said, but small can be sharp together. Still under the slide, they reached outward. Sira linked their minds like weaving two threads into one rope. Yalan felt stronger, steadier, not fearless, but ready. They focused on the nearest craft, the dark one. Sira showed him how to find the pilots, not with eyes, with attention, with the sense of where thought gathers. Yalan felt them. Cold presences behind walls of metal, hungry minds, trained minds, and he pushed. Stop, sleep, forget. The words were not spoken. They were thrown. Sarah added her own force, precise and ancient. A soft blade, a silent hammer. The craft wobbled. Its hover stuttered. The beam cut off mid-sweep. The dark ship drifted backward, tilting like a stunned animal. On the ground, a teacher who had been frozen in fear suddenly moved. He grabbed a child and dragged him behind the benches. A parent tackled another child out of the open. People began to run with purpose now, not just panic. The hunters tried to fight back. Yalan felt a spike of mental pressure slam toward them. A shove meant to break their link. Yalan cried out, clutching his head. Sira clung to him, antennae trembling, and she poured her fear into strength. Not fear of pain, fear of losing one more person. Hold. She pressed into him. Hold on. Yalan's vision blurred, his stomach twisted, but he held Sarah's hand. He held the line in his mind. He held because he remembered how it felt to be mocked, to be small, and how it felt to be seen. The silver craft, the second one, suddenly darted forward. A bright net of light snapped across the dark hunter ship. The dark ship jerked as if caught in a trap. It spun, tried to rise, failed. Then it shot upward in a wild retreat, dragging the net behind it like a torn banner. The remaining hunter beam flashed once. Angry and desperate, then cut off. The hunters fled into the clouds, leaving the playground torn, shaken, but still standing. The silence that followed was thick, not the cruel silence Sira had known. A stunned silence, a living silence, the kind that happens after danger passes and everyone realizes they are still breathing. Yalan crawled out from under the slide. Still holding Sira's hand, his legs felt like jelly. Sira swayed beside him, exhausted. The sky was bright again. The sun had shifted lower. Golden light poured over the playground, warm and gentle, like the world was trying to apologize. People stared at them. Teachers, parents, older kids, all with the same expression. Confusion, fear, awe, because the two smallest beams on the ground had stepped into the storm, and the storm had moved away. Yalan's mother came running through the Gate. Hair flying, face pale, she found Yalan and grabbed him, pulling him into her arms. She held him like she would never let go. Then she saw Sira, small, shaking, bruised by effort, and something in her face softened. She knelt slowly, keeping her voice calm. "Are you hurt?" she asked Sira. Sira did not answer out loud, but she looked into the woman's eyes, and for the first time she tried. Her mouth opened. Her throat moved. A sound came out. Rough and thin like a first breath, not a perfect word, but a real one. "Help," she whispered. The adults froze. Some gasped. Some covered their mouths. Yalan felt tears burn his eyes. Sarah's voice trembled again. Then stronger, not loud, but clear, "Please, Jalan's." Mother did not hesitate. She reached out her hand. The way Jalan had, Sarah stared at it, then placed her small fingers into the human palm. That single touch changed the shape of the crowd, because it proved something. This was not a monster, not a secret weapon, not a thing to mock. This was a child asking for help. In the days that followed, the playground became a place with new rules. Bullying stopped quickly, not because kids grew kinder overnight, but because fear had shifted, not fear of aliens, fear of what cruelty looked like when danger came, fear of being the one who laughed while someone else suffered. Officials came. Men and women in suits asked questions. They tried to separate Yalan and Sira, but Jalan's mother stood firm, her voice cut like steel. "No," she said, "you will not treat them like objects. You will not punish them for saving lives." Sira's family was moved to safety, not to a cage, to a protected home with people who understood refugees. Yalan was invited to visit, at first with supervision, then with trust. Because the world had seen something it could not unsee, Sira began to learn spoken words slowly, painfully. Each sound was like lifting a heavy stone. But she kept trying, because Yalan always waited, always smiled, always held her hand when she shook. One evening, months later, they returned to the playground. The sun set behind the trees, warm and soft. The swings creaked in the wind, familiar. Sira and Yalan stood where they had stood on that first day. The world was not fully safe yet. Hunters still existed out there in the dark. But now the humans knew. Now the humans prepared. Now the humans listened. Sira looked at Yalan. Her antennae curled gently, relaxed. She took a breath, and she spoke with her mouth. "They mocked me," she said. "Because I was quiet." Yalan nodded, his throat tight. "They mocked me too," he said, "for standing with you." Sarah's lips trembled. Then she smiled, small and bright. And she said the words that made Jalan's heart lift like a bird. "You held my hand, you made me brave." Yalan squeezed her fingers. He looked at the empty swings, the dusty mulch, the glowing sky, and he understood something that felt bigger than ships and hunters and governments. Sometimes the universe does not change with a weapon. Sometimes it changes with a child choosing kindness. In a place where cruelty thought it was normal, Sira turned her face toward the sunset. Her voice was quiet, but her meaning was strong. "Next time," she said, "we save more." Yalan smiled, and his answer was simple, but it carried a promise that could reach the stars. "Why, yes, we do."